Okay, welcome everyone. As we are sponsored by the Fogel family, the Nishmas Yaakov Zeb ben Yehud Arya, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam Bas Gad, Yosef ben Tzim ben Yaakov Zev, Lefu Shalema for Moshe Arya ben Miriam, and for a great shidduch for Chaya Tzivya Bas Shoshana Gittel. We're sponsored by Baruch Il in Nishmas Yaakov Chaim ben Abba, Esther Bas Yona, Avram and Shmuel HaKain, Lefu Shalema for Liba Bas Anya. We're sponsored anonymously for a great shidduch for Batya Basara, Lizivik Hagan. We're sponsored by Ed Saleh from London, the Refuah Shalema for Yosef Shmuel ben Miriam. Should have a Refuah Shalema b'Seich Shachal Yisrael. The boy that was swept away in Eretz Yisrael, they should find him. He should have a Yeshua. Moshe ben Rezel Vered. Learn from Moshe Meir ben Esther Fradel, Chavar Adaf Aaron ben Sarah, and Nachman Yaakov ben Sarah. They should have a Shalema b'Seich Shachal Yisrael. David Menachos Alevi, Ben Rachel, Yocheved Bas Shena. They should have a Refuah Shalema b'Seich Shachal Yisrael. We want to welcome back Eddie. Eddie, it's good to see you. How many people do we have here? So far we're only 8, so it makes no difference. Okay. Gedalia has a chasana tonight. We're holding 4 lines from the bottom. 4 lines from the bottom of Daf Gimel Amud Beis. 4 lines from the bottom of Daf Gimel Amud Beis. Milsa, the Pshita Leila Rabba Lahaygel Gisa, something that was obvious to Rabba in one direction, that that if something is clearly not true, he says a minchas machbas should be a macheshes, something that's clearly not true, doesn't disqualify because his actions belies his words. While Ularava lahagisa, and Rava says the other way around. Rava says that where his Rava says where if it's clearly not the case, then it does disqualify. So that which is svaras hafuchas is actually Nebayil Rav Aishia. Rav Aishia wonders about it. The boy Rav Aishia, v'imila boy minei Rav Aishia merapasi, that Rav Aishia inquired. That Rav Aishia inquired of Rav Asi, mincha l'shum zevach, if, let's say, Yehuda offers a mincha for the sake of an oila, for the sake of a shlamim, Mali Yama Rab Shimon.
Have it stacked away in a special place. Have it stacked away in a special place.
Yeah. Says the Gemara, Mali Yama Rab Shimon. What does Rab Shimon say? Time at Rab Shimon Mishum Achshav Demin Kuraloi Pasla. Is it because it's clearly not so? When you say a machbas l'shem macheshes, it doesn't disqualify because it's obviously not a macheshes. He's doing it in a machbas. So then the same thing. If Yehuda says a mincha should be like an ayla, that's obviously not, because obviously a mincha is not an animal offering. And then it would be good. Oidil time to Reb Shimon. The reason Reb Shimon is Mishum Dechsiv Zayis Teiras HaMincha. It says Zayis Teiras HaMincha, which we learn out Torah Achas L'Kol Menachos. But Zayis Teiras HaMincha v'Zevach like Siv. It doesn't say it's Torah Achas for a Mincha and a Zevach. So therefore, if you do a Mincha L'Shem an Ayla, it wouldn't be good. So Amalei, he told him, you want to ask about Reb Shimon. Who understands Reb Shimon? Klum higanu l'seif daitay shel Reb Shimon. How do we understand Reb Shimon? After all, there was a stira in Reb Shimon. In one place he says if you do a machbas l'shem archeshes, it's kosher. In another place he says that kodesh kadoshim kechatas, that if it's like that mincha which is kodesh kadoshim is like a chatas, that shaloi l'shma is no good. And karabbalei mishani like he doesn't answer like Rabbah. The Gemara is very, very brief over here. He doesn't answer like Rabbah, who says that there's a difference between if you have in mind Shinu Kodesh from a Machbas to Marcheshes, that's good. But if you have in mind Shinu Bailim, a different owner, it's not good. So he doesn't want to answer like that. Mishum Kushi de Abaye, because Abaye had a problem. Because Abaye said, since we learn out the law from comparing Kodesh Kodashim Kechatas, so that's a Hekesh. And we should say, Ein Hekesh L'machza. There's no Hekesh, so it should be like a Chatas, that Shaloi L'shma is good, whether it's Shina Kodesh, whether it's Shina Bailam. Karavalei Mishani Lei, he doesn't want to learn that the reason is that why if you do a mincha l'shem archeshes, it's because it says Zayis Teiras HaMincha Torah Achas L'Kol Mincha, right? That there's one Torah for a mincha, because if you learn it out from Torah Achas, then we should say the same thing by a Chatas, because it says Dais Torah's Chatas, and it should be, therefore, all Chatas should be good. So Karavaloi Mishani, Mishum Kush is Dais Torah's Chatas. Then if you do any Chatas Shaloi L'shma, even if you do it l'shem achatas mitzayra achatas nazir, it should be good because it says Zayis Chatas. And Karavashi lo mishani like he doesn't want to answer like Ravashi. Ravashi says that the difference is because when you say mincha l'shem machbas l'shem archeshes, you're having in mind for the sake of the keli, and having in mind for the sake of the keli is a nonsensical thing. But if you say minchas machbas l'shem minchas marcheshes, that's no good. He says he doesn't want to learn that way. Mishum kusha de Rav Achabrei de Rava, because of the question of Rav Achabrei de Rava. Then why is it good if you have in mind chareva l'shem belula? Chareva is a dry mincha. Minchas chatas is dry; it doesn't have oil. L'shem belula, there it's clear. You're not having in mind a keli. And he doesn't accept the answer that belula could mean even a Duncan Hines mix, because only belula b'shemen is a mincha. Belula stam, he doesn't hold to that. Now we proceed. The Mishnah says, "Chutz minchas chayte and minchas kanais," that by a minchas chayte and a minchas kanais, if you do it shalai l'shma, not only is it lo yalu l'ba'alim l'shem chayva, but it's puzzle. Minchas Knais is a Minchas Saita. So the Gemara says, Bishleim and Minchas Chayte, that it's possible, because Chatis Kayer Achmana. The Torah calls the Mincha of a sinner a Chatis, so just like a Chatis by an animal, Shelo Yishma is possible, because it says, Lo Yasim Aleh Shemen, don't put on it oil, V'lo Yitin Aleh Levayna, Ki Chatasi, it's a Chatis. Ela Minchas Knais Minalan, but how do you know that a Minchas Saita is completely disqualified if done Shelo Lishma? Says the Gemara, the Tani Tanakamid Rav Nachman, Minchas Knais, Maisara Nedava. If let's say, Saita, who brings a mincha of barley, set aside money, and there was extra money left after they bought the mincha. With the extra money, it goes into the shayfaris marked Nedava, and it's used for communal oilais, communal burnt offerings when business is slow on the Mizbeach. Minchas Knais Maisara Nedava. Now, how do you know that? Amalei Shaper Karmet. You're right. Because Maskeres Avain Ksivbei. It says that the Mincha of a Saita is a reminder of our sin. Ubechatis Ksiv Oisa Nasan Lachem Laseis Es Avaino Eida. And he gave you the Chatis to carry the sin of the congregation. So just like by a Chatas, if you put aside money for the Chatas and there's extra money, the extra money goes on Nedava. Ma Chatas Maisara Nedava, the extra goes for Nedava. Af Minchas Knais Maisara Nedava. And therefore it would follow, therefore also, or Kechatas, Ma Chatas Psula Shalai Lishma, just like a Chatas of an animal is Pasul Shalai Lishma. So Af Minchas Knais, the Mincha of a Saita is Psula Shalai Lishma. Says the Gemara, then an Ashim should be Pasul Shalai Lishma too. In the beginning of Zavachim, we learned only a Chatas and a Pesach Bizmana is Pasul Shalai Lishma. But according to this, a guilt offering should also be Pasul, because it says, by Ashim Avainai, El Me'ata Ashim Yeh Pasul Shalai Lishma, the Gomer Oven Mei Chatas. Now actually it doesn't say Oven by Ashim, but it does say Avono. So the Gemara says, yeah, that's why we don't learn it. It's not an exact comparison. Done in oven may oven, ve'ain done in avoinoi may oven. We don't learn out. Says the Gemara, Gzeira Shava doesn't have to be perfect. We see by Tsaras that we make a Gzeira Shava. In one place it says Shiva, that the Kain returns. In one case it says Bia, that the Kain comes. But since both mean that the Kain goes to check, the Gemara says we can learn it even though it's not exact. Zui Shiva, Zui Bia. Returning and coming is the same idea that he's checking. So definitely it shouldn't be a problem of learning Avoinai and Avain. And furthermore, it says Avoinai by the Chatas Oila V'Yared of Shmias Kel, when you put a witness to oath, saying that we impose an oath on him if he doesn't know testimony, and if he lies, he brings a chatas. And over there it says avainai. If he doesn't tell, rather, it must be that the source is not the Gzeira Shava. The Gzeira Shava of Oven only comes to tell me that the Meiser is on the Dava, that the extra money goes from the Dava. So you'll say, but we have a klal en Gzeira Shava l'machza. You don't do a Gzeira Shava halfway. You don't do a Gzeira Shava halfway. I believe we're getting a new member here. You don't do a Gzeira Shava halfway. Says the Gemara, Gali Rachmana Gabe Chatas, the Torah reveals by Chatas, V'shachat Osa Lachatas. It says Osa, which is a limitation. Osa Lishma Ksheira, Shaloi Lishma Psula. Only Osa by Chatas. Aval Kol Kachin, including an Asham, Bein Lishman, Bein Shaloi Lishman Ksherin. So then the Gemara says, so then we're back to square one. How do we know that a Minchas Chayte and a Minchas Knayis are Pasal Shaloi Lishman? A Minchas Chayte and Minchas Knayis, the Psulin Shaloi Lishman Minalan. Says the Gemara, you know how you know that a Chatas is Pasal Shaloi Lishman? Because it says the key word hu. Hu means Bav Yosete. It should always be in its proper state. It should have no change. Chatas kaimamai shaloi lishmas pashal b'mishum dichsiv bahu hani nami the minchas chayte and the minchas knayis. It also says who. So the Gemara says, so then we're back again with the problem with Ashim, because by Ashim it says who too. Such a shad. There's somebody Yossi Kudmir. He's trying to get on and he's not getting on. No, why? He gave up. Says the Gemara, so Ashim Nami Hoksiv Behu. By Ashim it also says who? Says the Gemara, yeah, but the critical factor by Ashim is it says only who by the Aktoris Evarim U'Pdarim, by smoking up of the fats and the limbs. And since that's not a vital part of the carbon, because it's not ma'ak of the carbon, so that who cannot be telling us the critical law of Lishma. Says that's written after the smoking up of the sacrificial portions. It only says who while who of kasher. If the sacrificial portions are not smoked up, it doesn't disqualify the carbon. And therefore that who cannot be teaching us the vital lesson that by Ashim Shaloi Lishma is possible. I said, then why does it say by Ashim who? Ve'alahu lamali. That's telling us a whole different law. I'm going to tell you this law outside. You see, if let's pick somebody. Eddie, he's jet lagged. Really doesn't remember where he is, which is not hard to believe with Eddie. Eddie's always in a different letter of the alphabet every night. So Eddie separates an Ashim, loses it, separates another one, offers it, and he's left with one. So the din is you leave it out to pasture, it gets a mum, you redeem it, and you buy what the money goes for an ayla on the mizbeach. The halacha is that if Eddie puts it out into pasture and makes a mistake and offers it itself as an ayla, it's kosher. But that's only if he put it out to pasture. If it was nitik l're'iyah. If before he put it out to pasture, he offers it up as an ayla, then it's possible, because then it's just a disqualified ashim. And we know that from the word hu, that as long as it's an ashim, until it's nitik l're'iyah, it has a din of an ashim, and you can't offer it up as an ayla. Let's see it inside. Ve'alahu lamali, the Rav Huna Amarav. We use it for the din of Rav Huna in the name of Rav. Ashim shenitek l're'iyah. An ashim that was assigned to pasture. V'shaktei stam, and before waiting for it to get a mum and redeeming it and using the money for an ayla, he offers it itself as an ayla, kosher. It's kosher l'shem ayla. But nitikin, that's only if it was consigned to pasture. Loy nitik loy. But if it wasn't consigned, it's still just a disqualified ashim, and if you offer up as an ayla, it's no good. Why? Because I'm a krahu bav yasayeh. As long as you didn't consign it to Riyah, it remains an ashim. Now, here we're going to learn a chiddush, that there's another mincha. Danny.
Yeah.
3 lines from the bottom of Dalam and Aleph. Another mincha that's puzzle. Amar Rav, if on the 16th of Nisan, minchas aimer should come to shalai lishma, if they did the kmitza shalai lishma, they didn't do it for the sake of a minchas aimer. Puzzle. Why? Because since it's obviously like alul l'balim l'shem chayva, since the whole purpose of the minchas aimer is to be mated a new crop, and this won't be mated a new crop, so therefore it's entirely possible. Since it comes to permit the new crop, and it doesn't, it's possible. Same thing is true with an ashim nazir and an ashim mitzayra. Now the ashim nazir is to permit the person to drink wine and be metamel l'meisa. And the ashim mitzayra is to allow him to be able to eat kachim and enter the mikdash. Now, if he does it shalai l'shma, it doesn't succeed. And since it's not succeeding at its purpose, it's possible entirely. So also, ashim naziv, ashim mitzayra, sheshachtan shalai l'shma, psulin, hayul ubo lahachshiv. It comes to make him suitable. In the case of the nazir, to drink wine, to be metamel l'meisim. In the case of the ashim mitzayra, to eat kachim. Since it doesn't accomplish that, so therefore it's possible entirely. So the Gemara says, our Mishnah doesn't say that. Our Mishnah says, chutz minchas chayte minchas knais. It doesn't say minchas ayma. Tanan, kala menachos shenikmasu shaloi l'shman ksheris, ela shaloi alu l'ba'alim l'shum chayve. It doesn't fulfill the owner's responsibility. He has to bring another one. But the mincha is good, and you could eat the shirayin. Chutz me minchas chayte or minchas kanais, except for the mincha of the sinner and the mincha of the saita. But it doesn't say the mincha zayma. V'misa, if it's true that the mincha zayma is also possible, lisnei nami chutz me minchas ayma. So the Gemara says there's a reason why it doesn't say the mincha zayma. That's a different category, and the Gemara says 3 reasons why it's a different category. The Mishnah is only talking about individual karbanos. But tzibur, a communal carbon, like the minchas aymer, it's a communal carbon, like a tani. Ki tani ba b'glal atzma. It only talks about menachos that come by itself. Ba b'glal zevach, the aymer is accompanied with a lamb, like a tani. Ki ketani hanach she'en kavul lehen zman. It says these that are not at a fixed time. Had the kvul azman minchas aymer, which is at a fixed time, like a tani. So it's not that it left it out; it's in a different category. But now the Gemara is going to ask about the ashim mitzayra and the ashim nazir. Amamar v'cheina ta'aymer ba'ashim nazir v'ashim mitzayra sheshachtan shaloi l'shman. That you shechted them shaloi l'shman, psulin, they're puzzled. Hayelu bo lahachshir, they come to make him ready. They come to in the case of the ashim mitzayra, he could eat kachim and enter in the mikdash. In the case of the ashim nazir, he should be able to drink wine and be metamel l'meisim. And they don't accomplish, therefore they're possible. So Gemara says again, it's shver from the Mishnah. Tanan, it says in the Mishnah, Kol hazvach sheshachton shaloi l'shman k'sheirin, ela shaloi ola l'bayil mishum chayva, chutz mepesach v'chatas. Except for the Pesach and the Chatas, if it's done shaloi l'shma, it's possible. According to you, it should also say Ashim Nazir and Ashim Mitzayra. V'im isa listening nami chutz ma'ashim Nazir v'ashim Mitzayra. Says Gemara, well, it would want to say chutz ma'ashim. And it couldn't say chutz ma'ashim because it wouldn't apply to the other Ashims, to the Ashim Gezelis and the Ashim Me'ilais. Says the Gemara, since they come to make him ready and it doesn't make him ready. Says, well, you know why it doesn't say it? Because Kavan the Ashim Gezelis Ashim Me'ilas. So they come for atonement. So therefore, like Psikala, he couldn't just say Chutz Ma'ashim. So the Gemara says, well, why don't you say the same reason? Say that the Ashim Me'ilas and the Ashim Gezelis, since they come for kapara, and when you do it Shaloi L'Shma, it's not Mechaper, it shouldn't be good at all. Same svar. Says the Gemara.
It didn't achieve.
Huh?
It didn't achieve what its purpose.
Right. Says the Gemara. Ma'ishna Ashim Nazav Ashim Mitzayra, that you say it's puzzled the Bo'la Achshav Lo Yachshiru, it didn't achieve its purpose. Hani Nami Bo'la Kapara. They come to kapara, and since it's done shaloi l'shma, it's loyal l'bal m'shem chayiva v'loy kipru. So the Gemara says there's a difference between kapara and hechsher. Matzinu shechilek hakasav bein mechaprin ubein machshirin. We see that the pasuk makes a difference between atonement and making somebody ready. Mechaprim ispu da asul achamisa. When the purpose is for atonement, we do it even after the person's death. But machshirin, but to make somebody ready, lespu da asul achamisa. So we see if it's not making the person ready, it's not shaykh. Kapara, we do it even after Misa. Where do we do? We always say, Ein kapara lacha Misa. Where do we have kapara after Misa? Oh, very interesting. This is a very, very interesting Gemara. And you know, before I can't believe I'm already where I am now. And I didn't even welcome everybody in. So we welcome in Irving Fishbaum, Yaakov Warman, Saba, Dr. Guy, and we really welcome back Eddie Chazan. Really nice to see you, Eddie. Shimon Klein, Sorel Fisher, Ben-Zion Cohn, Mel Zachter, Menachem Umansky, A.B. Spry, Shalom Fogel, Rabbi Kranz, Ruvain Pollack, Nachman Chapler, Shelley, what's your friend's name?
This is Usher Rovinsky.
Well, it's nice to have you, Usher. And what's
his sister Devorah.
And Devorah, it's
And his brother Sam.
And his brother Sam.
And Esty is here somewhere. Oh, here, go say hi.
Oh, Esty, how are you?
She's eating her
Oh, and there's also Ora. Oh, hi, Ora.
And Ora's also.
Yeah, Ora, this Shir always appreciates your help. We really do.
Thank you.
And Ora comes from the generation that knows what they're doing with a computer. You know, for my age, Ora, I'm not so bad, but that's not so bad. Yeah, well, you are a big help. But Ora, I strung up lectures with television sets and something called 8x8 video before the internet existed. So, yeah. Shalom Fogel, Barry Cement, Itchy, Reb Kaniel, Yitzi Fuchs, Chaim Lerner, Avi Ament, Stephen Holtzman, Avram Rezepkowitz, Yitzi Muller, Rebel Yafi, Ilya Shutman, and David Helfgott. Okay, so the Gemara says, where do we find that there's kapara after Misa? Yes, but now the Gemara says that there's kapara after Misa. So there's a difference between kapara and machshirin. Where do we find kapara after Misa? And that's why, by the Ashim Gezela and the Ashim Mitzayr, which is for machshir, and there's no hechsher, it's possible entirely. But the Ashim Ila and Ashim Gezels, even though it's not mechaper, it's not completely possible. Because we see that even though it's a mechaper, we do it after Misa, where there's no kapara after Misa. Let's see it inside. Ditnan, Ho'isha she'ivia chatasa, a woman has to bring a chatas and an oila when she gives birth. So she brings her chatas umesa, yaviu yorshin oilasa. Yorshin bring her oila. Oilasa umesa, if they brought her oila and she died, lo yaviu yorshin chatasa. Now, interesting that the din is by a woman that the chatas by a woman allows her to eat kachim and enter in the mikdash. Now she also has to bring an oila because when she also has to bring a carbon for kapara, because when she is in such pain, she swears that she'll never be with her husband again. So she brings a carbon for... Now, since the chatas makes her ready to eat kachim, it must be that the oila in this case is the mechaper. And we see that we bring the oila, if they didn't bring it, so the Yoshim bring the oila. Says the Gemara, Mask Rab Yehuda Rab Shimon Pazi Machshir Nami Milesu Da'asa Lacha Misa. Do we not bring a machshir also after death? V'tanan hamafresh mos l'nizirosai. If somebody separated a bag, this is the money. You have to bring 3 karbanas after you finish. Stam Nazirus is 30 days. After the 30 days, you got to bring 3 karbanas. So we learned hamafresh mos l'nizirosai. If you separate money for your nazirus, the din is loinanin, that you can't benefit from it, v'loy mayalin. But if you use it, so you're not mayal, because one of the karbanos is a shlamim. And we could say all that money was for a shlamim. Shlamim is no me'ila before zrika. Mibnei shiruyin lavai kulan shlamim. Mace, if he dies, and the money is unspecified. So there's Allah l'Moshe Misinai that if he dies and the money is unspecified, yiplul in a dove. It falls into the pushka and it's used to buy oilers when business is slow on the mizbeach. Mefurashin, if the money is specified, this money is for the chatas, this money is for the oiler, this money is for the shlamim. The money of the chatas, it's a chatas shemeisu baleha. It has to be thrown into the salt sea. Loinanin, you don't benefit from it, but there's no meal anymore because it can't be used. The money of the oila yavi behen oila, they could bring it after death, and the mei shlamim yavi bei shlamim. But it's like the shlamim of a nazir. Normally a shlamim is eaten for 2 days and 1 night. But the shlamim of a nazir is only eaten for 1 day and 1 night. And although normally the shlamim of a nazir is accompanied with 20 loaves, but that's only if the nazir is alive. But the oila and the shlamim of a nazir allow him to cut his hair, to drink wine, and you see the ka'asul achamisa. Says we don't bring a machshir where it specifically is what makes him ready. Here, the oila and the shlamim are not specifically machshirin, because the din is he could drink wine and be metamel l'meisim on any one of the three karbanas. He could do it also with the chatas. So since they don't have exclusivity of being machshirin, says the Gemara, Amra Papai Hachi Kamra Yirmiyah, Loi Motzinu Echsher Kshvua de Balachamisa. We don't find that something which is exclusively the machshir. Here, the oil and the shlomo are not exclusively the machshir, because if he brings a chatas first, he could drink wine and be metamel l'meisim. Why? Because the Gemara says, Udenachzer hechsher she'en kvuhu. It doesn't have exclusivity. Why? It doesn't have exclusivity. The Amar gilach al achas mishlosh ten yotza. If you shave even over one of them, you're yotza. So the chatas could be the machshir. And therefore, since they're not exclusively a machshir, they could be brought la'achamisa. Okay, Rabbi said we're going to stop here, and now we're going to have the Shabbos table.